Welcome to the Wish I'd Known Then podcast, where we focus on how authors found success, looking at strategies that have taken them to the top of the bestseller charts, as well as what they've learned from their mistakes. Because being an indie author is more than knowing the latest marketing trend. It's about being innovative and creative and learning from your mistakes.
Welcome to the Wish I'd Known Then podcast. I'm Sarah Rosette.
And I'm Jami, Albright. And this week on the show, we have Najla Qamber. She's a cover designer. She's my cover designer. And she has a company, Qamber Designs. And it is a great interview.
Yeah, we talk about all kinds of things about covers, like trends that are coming in cover design and how to have a good relationship with your cover artist.
Yeah, how to communicate
how to find a cover artist. And if you're interested in cover design, kind of how to get started.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed talking to her.
Yeah, I did too. I learned some things, and I've been working with her since my first book. So, yeah.
Yeah, and ideas for promotion, using your cover art for promotion and what you can and can't do with that. So, yeah. So what have you been doing?
Not much. I've been kind of sick this week. My grandson, who lives with us, started daycare like a week and a half ago, just a couple of days a week. But I think he brought something home and we all got it. And so, which we kind of expected, but it's never good when it happens. Yeah. But I've just been writing just on the days that I felt like I could. There were a couple of days that I just really felt poorly, but I'm just trying to get duking it out going and finishing some final touches for the quarantine book that comes out on the 3rd. And so
that sounds cool. I mean, I'm glad that you're getting to do some writing.
Yep, just normal stuff. Yeah. How about you?
Well, this actually worked out well for this podcast because I sent off a brief to my cover artist.
Good.
Last week, and he sent me back. I'm doing an illustrated cover for the 7th High Society book, and so I send it off, and then he sends back just a sketch, and it's different from if you're using photos. And so anyway, I got the sketch back, and it looks really good. And I mean, like I had really nothing I wanted changed. But I think one thing I've learned about covers is that it's better if I don't send too many things, because I've done that thing where like I do a mood board and I've got like 50 different covers on there, and that didn't seem to work really well. So when I did that, so this time, what I've done recently is I just send a couple of images, maybe like 3 or 4, and kind of the mood, the feeling I want it to have. And it helps too that it's like book 7. So it's kind of like following suit, but so I was excited to get that back. Been doing some writing, and I was going to share this podcast. It's Stark Reflections, Mark Leslie Lefebvre's number 173. It's D.F. Hart on recovering from mistakes, which, that's like one thing we're always interested in. Right. She talks about covers. They cover, she talks about how she redid her covers and saw an improvement in her sales. But I just thought this would blend really well with what we're talking about today. Yes. Because she talked about how much she loved her covers personally, but then they weren't selling the books. And so she changed them and saw an immediate increase in sales. So I'll link to that in the show notes. Right.
And, we had Shea McLeod on, and she did the same thing. She did a whole cover revamp, and
and it made a huge difference.
Around. Yeah. So covers are super important. I always say this, and it's easy to go wrong. So you got to be. You need some good, and we talk about this in the podcast. You need some people around you that will tell you the truth about them. I think we should get on with the show because it's a really good one.
Yep. So here we go. Well, today we are really excited to have Najla Qamber with us on the podcast. How are you doing today?
Doing good. I'm very excited for this. Hello, everybody.
We're so excited you're here. I'm like bouncing in my seat. I'm so excited.
Yeah. So let me read your bio real quick and we'll get started. Najla Qamber is an international award-winning book cover designer and has designed over 1,000 book covers. She started designing for herself at 13 and began professionally working as a graphics designer at the age of 16. She is the creative director and founder of Qamber Designs and Media. She and her team established the Kidlit section, Qamber Kids, as well as their author-focused illustrated stock and ready-made design store, Qamber Emporium. And we have so many questions for you today about cover art and working with cover artists, and we're just really excited to talk to you.
Yes, we are. We are. So let's get started. So tell us how you got started working with writers.
It's actually a very simple story. I used to be a book blogger, and I just really loved reviewing books on my blog, Unputdownable Books, ages ago, years. I was a preteen. And I slowly became more acquainted with authors who would send me their books for review. And I came up with this idea of, hey, let's start a section on the blog to bring in more traffic in where I recover popular books. Yeah.
Oh, how interesting.
That's so smart.
So I did that, and some authors started asking questions. And one particularly found me, and she was like, hey, do you want to work as an exclusive designer for my publishing company that's just starting up? I'm not sure if you guys know it. It's Inkspell Publishing, actually.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And I've the rest is history. Since then, I'm still working with them, and it's been like 7-8 years. And it's just thanks to them, really.
Yeah.
I can't thank them enough for that.
Well, you're just so great. And full disclosure, Najla is my cover artist, and I just count myself so lucky that I found her and found her early, because it was before I even published Rockstar, the first book. I had another thing come out, and so very, very excited.
Yeah.
Me too. Jami, you actually, your books actually got me on the market as well. So thank you.
Yeah. You're welcome. You're welcome. Because it's just the best. I love my covers. I mean, I just love them. I thought about changing them, and a couple of people said, no, your covers are great. And I'm like, okay, you're right. I'm keeping them.
A lot of people have come to me and said, can we copy Jami's cover? Can you do the same thing? And I'm like, no.
You could do the same but different.
Yeah,
That's the key, right?
different. I tried. It didn't work out.
Well, and we can talk about this later when you talk about what you wish you'd known about working with authors or whatever. But yeah, that first cover, that was crazy. So I mean,
why don't you tell her how that went? Tell how that went, Jami.
So what happened was, I had this idea for this, because I'd written the book forever, and had this idea for a cover, and I sent her all the pictures, and when she, it was beautiful what she sent back, but it looked like a YA cover. I mean, it was just very much a YA cover.
It did.
And then when that didn't work out, I kind of panicked, and I was like, send it, and I didn't understand what a cover artist could do. That was the biggest problem. I didn't know they could put a veil on or put blonde hair on. I didn't understand that. And so I was just like micromanaging everything. And we went on for a couple of months, about 6 weeks. And finally it was the holidays, and Najla said, let's take a break, and then we'll come back after the holidays. And I said, okay. Well, during that time, I came to my senses, and I finally said, I sent her an email and I said, listen, you're the professional. I'm just going to kind of take cues from you. And she was like, basically, oh, thank God. and then I got out of the way pretty much, and she gave me a beautiful cover. So yeah, it was terrible. And I think I spent twice what I would normally spend on a cover, or what that cover cost, because I just kept trying to micromanage the whole thing. Yeah. So it was a funny story, but it worked out. Yeah.
It did.
Yeah. So we'll talk about that more, about like working with cover artists, because I think it's a skill you have to learn. So yeah.
It is a skill. Even for the cover designer, you need to practice a lot with the back and forth with the author, and how everything works, and how to actually get around micromanaging as well. Because sometimes what I like to do is, in that sense, is I would take the author's idea and then say, okay, And alternatively, can I also make this version? And then can I show you both and you can pick? And then they always say yes, because yay, more options, you never.
Yes, yeah.
So that's another way to go around getting what the author wants, as well as getting your ideas a little bit through without being too rude or anything like that.
Yeah.
It's a fun process.
Yeah, I think that was one of my questions that I wanted to ask. And so we'll just take a little detour and then come back. But that's one thing that I have learned over the years, is that I didn't realize that cover artists, it's better if I send a general idea and say, this is the feeling I want, and these are some covers that I like, and then just and let them do their thing, because I was micromanaging it and not realizing it, or I'd send it back and say, well, can you make this font smaller, or can you do this, or can you do that? And I've learned what would be the best way to go back and forth with your cover artist. Do you want to say, like, you don't want to say I don't like it. So how can authors communicate better?
Okay, yeah. I've actually, majority of my emails are like, I don't like it. So it depends. It depends on the cover designer. Really, they have to really become have tougher skin to go through. If you're a designer, you have to have tougher skin, because in the corporate world, you get I hate it, or this is disgusting, give me something else. So they're a lot more mean, to be honest.
Okay.
And working with authors is quite a blessing, to be honest, because it's so chill and they're all so kind. So coming back to your question is, how do they go about giving their feedback? That's right, right? Yeah. So basically, like, this looks great, or you could say, oh, thank you so much for your hard work. And then you go like, I think I might want to see it with the text smaller or the text bigger. Can you show me a couple of other colors? I'm not sure if I'm married to this one, or just something like that. You can also say you don't like it. That will give us a clear idea of what we should avoid for the future.
No beating around the bush. Yeah.
Yes. Just tell me. Do you hate it?
That's good. I hate to tell people that I don't like things. So that's more me, but
me too. I don't. And I do, I am more receptive to emails that are more kinder, in a sense of like, oh, thank you so much. Can I see this? And I'm like, sure, let's experiment. And you just the designer becomes more excited to work with it, because there's no negative annotations in your email.
Right.
So they just get more excited and just send back things faster to you as well.
Yeah. Right. That's good to know. Yeah. That's great. Okay. Now we'll get back on task here on our list of questions. So, do you have any aspirations to write?
Yes, I actually did once upon a time. I think about 4 or 5 years ago, I did start writing something with my sister Netta. We were thinking of doing something historical with a King Arthur and the Knights of the Round Table romance. You guys can steal that idea if you want, because it's not happening. So we did have aspirations to write, me personally as well. But then I started writing for our blog as well, like tips and tricks. And I just couldn't go past page 2 after. So I just realized, I don't think I can do this. Like, I spent 3 hours on a 3-page how-to. And I'm just like, is this supposed to take this long?
Yeah.
Is it really?
No. Well, it depends.
There are days.
There are days, yeah. And when you're writing fiction, the general consensus is you write the crappy first draft and then you go back and fix it. You don't keep. But there are authors that fix as they go. Our friend Maria Lewis, she fixes as she goes. She'll write, and then the next day she goes back and fixes what she wrote the day before, and then goes forward.
That's amazing, though.
Yeah, so it can take a long time.
I did not have the patience. I did not have the patience. So I was like, okay, I don't think I want to do this anymore. And then the company grew, and then I just had no time whatsoever. Yeah.
What do you wish authors knew about your field, about cover artists?
A cover artist in particular, well, I'll do a little bit general than cover artists is we're not mind readers. So you just need to tell us if you don't like something, especially if you're a cover designer, you use particular colors specifically, like for the text, for example. And I have had clients who hate the color pink and yellow, like aggressively. So, and I didn't know that. I didn't know that. I wish I knew that. So they would tell me, there's a change to this. This is just horrid. And they can't see past the color. So at that time, as soon as I changed it to a different color, they're like, oh, so much better. And I'm like, okay, calm down. You should have told me. So I actually have a thing in my forms where I say, tell me what colors you don't like, so I can avoid it earlier on. So mind reading is one of the things. Another thing is they should also, it's okay to have multiple revisions for a cover or any type of design, honestly. It's like they should come in not expecting it to be perfect on the first go, or if they do expect it, don't freak out if it's not perfect in the first go. Because a lot of authors, and even some other clients outside of writing, they're always like, why is this so hard, etc. I'm like, we're only on the second revision and she's already giving up. And I'm like, calm down, it's okay. Sometimes you just, your initial idea just doesn't work out. So it's okay to be, it's okay to not like what you wanted in the beginning. Right. So that's one thing, is like multiple design revisions is okay. Don't worry about it. Yeah. And also that we're not wizards. I wrote a couple of things down. It's like there's some things we can't do, but there are also a lot of things we can do. So we can make some magic to some extent. So you need to ask questions, definitely. If, for example, I remember with Jami, we had to put pants on somebody. I don't know.
We had to put pants on somebody.
Yeah, I had to put pants on somebody, and she was unsure if we could do that. And she asked me, and I'm like, yeah, that's fine. We can put pants on a shirtless dude. Yeah. And so just ask. There's nothing wrong with asking if we can do certain things, like changing heads or putting a shirt on him, or his arm is awkward. Can you,
we wanted to switch the guitar. He had the guitar behind his back, and we switched it, and it's flawless. I mean, you can't tell at all. But in the beginning, I was looking, because it's brides, I was looking for a bride, and I didn't realize that you could make her a bride. And that was so stressful for me. That created a lot of stress for me, because I just didn't know that what you could do, the magic work.
I didn't know that either. I didn't know that you could change hair color and do all
put tattoos on, or
all these things.
Yeah, we didn't know either until we tried. And it is very stressful, especially if the authors or any type of client has a specific look and you can't find the stock image. Yeah. It's so frustrating. Yeah. So we've come to the point where we gotta start making our own. So,
your own stock?
Yeah, well, our own stock, or I'll just take a couple of elements of photos and just putting them together.
Create your own image from.
That's great. Yeah.
And then it's unique and special, and that's a great thing to do.
Yeah, because there are only so many stock images, and then you start seeing the same, especially in romance, the same sort of, if not image, couple on several different covers and stuff. Yeah, that happens.
Yeah.
What to do?
Is there anything you wish you'd known about indie publishing or working with authors in particular?
Yes. It's that trends change, Najla. This is one thing I keep kicking myself about. I'm like, trends change. You can't keep doing the same thing over and over again. You have to go out and research. So that's what I've been recently doing in the last 3-4 years, where I go out and check the best-selling lists on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, everywhere, just to see if I'm doing it right or what I'm brainstorming with the client is correct. That's one thing. Just trends changes. Definitely need to find the proper idea and everything. Another thing is number one thing is that you will get some mean people who comes in. That's normal for any job, to be honest.
It is.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I started this pretty young, and I was very green, you could say. So I expected the whole world was just butterflies and rainbows. So this is just a I wish anybody would have told me about work, is that you'll get some mean ones.
Yeah.
And also to how much work actually goes into publishing a book.
Yeah.
Because I realized that authors go through so much things that they need to, and there's a process and everything. And knowing these things, especially what they do with marketing, etc., will help me better as well in the design aspect, and to help them really grow their brand or whatever in the design aspect. So it's another thing.
That's great.
That brings me to, I mean, it's not one of our questions, so I'm going to freestyle for a minute. But like your little teasers or the GIFs and video sort of things that you make, did that come out of that, or was it an author saying, "Hey, can you do that?" Or
it was, if I vaguely remember, the teasers. Yes, author came up to us about it, but we did not officially offer it as a service on our website or make it public, because we thought that we didn't need to. That it's not going to be a thing. But then I did more research, and I'm like, what are you talking about? Is that a big thing? So that's when I started really going and looking at other marketing materials that we could offer to help an author out. Because even some new authors who don't know what they would need, having the list of things that they could do on our website will really help them get an idea of what you need marketing your book.
Right. And I mean, like the GIF that you made for me for Homecoming King, like I used it, I boosted it as a post on Facebook and so it's considered a video. And then I used the audience from that to make an ad. I mean, to make an audience for an ad. So there are a lot of things you can use them for that you might not think. You might think, I don't really need a GIF, but or a video or whatever, but you can use them for a lot of things.
Yes, exactly. That's one of the things I actually want to learn how to do, and just to get into the author's perspective of what they do exactly for these ads, so that I can just figure out what you would need design-wise in that sense. So I really need to learn how to do that thing.
I think you do. I mean, I think you do a really great job with, like, even your teasers that you made me. You made some with text and then some with that. You just gave me the image. And both of those have worked well for ads, because the ones without without text, I could put my book cover on. And so I think that those are really invaluable. And in the beginning, what I would do is just take stock photos and make ads. But I've tried to stay as true to the cover with my ad images as I can lately. And I think that works really well. I think it
I think that helps people realize that it helps with if they go to the book page and they've already seen that or something similar to that, then they're like, oh, okay. It helps with sell through, I think.
A fun thing as well is that we can actually give you, you can ask your cover designer. I don't think it's an open service that anybody's offering, but you can ask your cover designer for the cover without text. So you could just like put things on there. So it's just a fun extra thing.
Yeah. Or even the text, like the.
Yeah, you can even ask for they could even make the text for you on Canva or something, and you can have it editable. Depending if the font is available. If the font's available on Canva or wherever you edit things. So
And I didn't know that in the beginning either. So that's really great. What do you see authors doing that they do because they think they have to, but aren't producing results?
One thing for sure, it's the overwhelming amount of information that they sometimes give. I've received an entire book one time. I've received entire book, and they're like, read it and let me know what you think and what we should do for the cover. And I'm like, I'm so sorry, but I don't do this. Yeah, I can't do it like this, but you just give me a background, etc. I've also received like 5-page, 7-page first chapter or something like that to get the vibe as well. But sometimes it gets really overwhelming, and the cover designer sometimes, like, this has happened to me personally as well, is you just kind of go like, but there's so many possibilities.
Yes.
What exactly do we want to do?
Yeah.
There's too many things we could do with that information that I'm reading. Yes. So it's the basic general idea what they want, and then the basic information of the book would just be great. So you don't need to overwhelm your cover designer.
Okay, I was just going to say that I think a lot of times we don't know what we want. We have lots of different ideas, and we just send them all. That's probably not a good idea.
Yeah.
That's actually not a bad idea. That's fine to send like 3-5 ideas, because at least that's something to work off of rather than sending an entire book for them to read. Now that is overwhelming, but 5 ideas is cool. We can work with that. Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's good to know.
Yeah. Do you find that authors also, they want the cover to match the book too perfectly, like the cover
like
needs to be
scene.
the exact representation of the book, as opposed to, sort of an idea of what the book is. Yeah.
I understand what you're saying. I've gone through that way too many times, actually. So in those cases is what I like to do is to actually try, because the author has an idea and it's very specific, and I do want to bring their dreams to visualize their dreams or whatever they have in mind. But then show them, and then if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. We got to find a plan B.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So it's definitely let's try.
That's pretty much what you did with me. Yeah.
Yeah, let's try. Because you never know, it'll end up becoming like a super unique cover.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that will work in favor of you as the author as well as the cover designer, because you're going to just come up with something super unique. Yeah. So it's always welcome. Okay, if you want to be super specific, I'll try.
Yeah.
But if we can't find the couple, if we can't find the image, I'll try to Photoshop. But if I can't, sorry, plan B.
Right.
Yeah. So did you have anything else that you wanted to mention about things that we're doing that maybe we shouldn't?
Is to leave the research to the cover designer. That's for sure, because a lot of like cover trends, etc., like that, there's not a lot of cover designers do this. I've only recently done this. I've only just gone off of what I've seen, not me actively going in and doing a full-on analytical research on what's the trending looks out there, what genre, etc. So it's always best for the author not to go in too blind to the cover design, because you need to know as well what type of feedback that you need to give to the designer. So, for example, if you write in romance and you just tell me romance, I'm like, okay, what type of romance? You got to tell me the tropes. Is it a sports romance, etc.? Yeah. So not a lot of designers will know, especially if they're very new. They won't know what type of questions to ask, for sure. So they might just give you, they'll just put a pretty lady on it, and then maybe a guy separately, and then give that to you. If you're just leaving it to creative freedom of the designer. And in the end, you put the book out, you loved it, and then you put the book out, and it's like, oh boy, it didn't mesh with the rest of the trending, and my book is sports romance, and there's a girl and a guy just looking pretty. So it's definitely, you need to do your own research when you're looking for trends or whatever for your covers. Definitely.
Yeah. Well, and I think it's important to look at the cover artist's previous work too. If they're, and some of it you can't help. So, it's some of it you tell the author, I don't think this works, and then the author goes, this is what I want. But for the most part, if a cover designer is consistently not giving authors covers that are on trend or on genre, then you might want to steer away from them or be more specific when you deal with them, kind of thing.
Exactly. It also comes down to budget, actually.
Yeah.
It depends on the budget of the author as well.
Yeah,
they don't
that's
have
true.
money. Let's do the research at least.
Yeah. Well, we've touched on this a little bit, but are there any other common mistakes that you see authors making?
Oh, yeah. Not branding a series properly.
Oh, and that's one of our questions. So what can we do to do that?
Yeah.
Basically, you just need to know what looks like. Usually your cover designer should be able to help you with this, but if they don't, just in case they don't and they're very new, or you got someone who's really cheap and they're just not a cover designer. So you need to know, go out there and see what other series of books are there. Even if it's a standalone and it's just in the same world, they all have the same look technically. Mm-hmm. So you just need to go and be aware of what it looks like technically. Mm-hmm. Most of the time they all have the same fonts being used. Mm-hmm. Same fonts, same background color. Sometimes they change it. Same layout. Mm-hmm. By layout, I mean, let me give you an example. There's a guy in a suit. His head is cropped out, pretty background. So all of the books will be the same. Guy in a suit, pretty background, cropped face. So that's what I mean by layout. So that's definitely something that you need to keep in mind. Like, definitely fonts need to be the same so that your readers will know.
Yeah. So that first book in a series is pretty important. That first cover, because that's going to set the course.
Entire,
right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It will set the entire course. And sometimes I prefer to you should actually kind of not mess, but mention it to your designer that this is going to be a series. Mm-hmm. So please just make sure you say that to your designer so that they will keep in mind that they're going to have to potentially match the rest of the books together. Because there are some designs that are very difficult to continue.
Right. And see, I wouldn't have even thought of that because I write mystery, cozy mystery and historical mystery, and mine are just always in series. So it's like, that's a given. But, a cover artist who works with a whole bunch of different people might not realize that, or like if it's the first cover, they might not think of that or know that.
That's true. Mm-hmm. That's true. They might not realize that it's a series. But at the same time, like when you're looking at the brainstorm information and you say book 2, or it's in the same series as this, they're like, okay, great. Then I'll just follow the layout of that. And it just makes things so much easier. As a cover designer, I love doing books in a series because it's just so much easier than starting from scratch.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And I didn't really do that very well with Homecoming King, I don't think. I mean, I think we're going to be okay because we're going to do the layout thing. We'll have the same sort of pose. But yeah, I should have thought about that. I should have been more mindful of that going forward because the first book is very clearly a football book. And the second one is not.
Actually, I think we can make it work.
Okay.
Don't worry. I think we can make it work because the main character is also sporty, right? For the second book.
Yeah.
So it's technically still a sports
sporty book. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so we can make it work, Jami. Don't worry.
I'm not worried, man. I'm not worried. You have saved my bacon a lot of times, so I have full faith in you.
Thank you.
Do you see any commonalities in writers who have been successful over the long haul, like as far as their books go?
Yes. I've noticed a lot of more successful authors have like a very pretty brand across all of their covers. What I mean by that is that they use the same font for their author name and placement on all. And they also do this thing where, depending on what they write exactly, is that some of them only use men in suits. For example, Louise Bay, she's like, I hate shirtless dudes. I'm like, you got it, girl. I'll get you some suits. Shirtless dudes is not a good thing. So she's like, okay. So all of her books, all of the series that I've done with her are just men in suits. And that has become, over time, her brand. So every time someone sees a guy in suits, like, oh, this reminds me of Louise Bay. I'm going to this is great. I want to read more books similar to hers. That's another thing. And then I have authors who love the color blue, and then that they end up turning that into a brand across all of their covers. It's quite interesting, actually. I didn't know this until recently, until I did like their 12th cover. And they're like, Nej, by the way, I don't know if you noticed, but I use blue as my author brand. So can we continue doing that? And I'm like, oh, yeah, okay, sure. So it's like my readers expect me to have blue on my cover. I'm like, got it. I got you. So that's one thing, is that they always brand their catalog together. So they immediately know, the readers immediately know, oh, that's that author. I want to read more of her.
Yeah. I would know Louise Bay's covers without her name on them anywhere because they are so well branded. Yeah, you're absolutely right.
Yeah. I did that by accident.
Yeah, it's really good.
I didn't realize I did that by accident. More things that common out that successful authors have is that they keep updating their covers. That's another thing. It's like they know that, okay, 5 years ago we did this cover. And at that time it was great. But then you see the sales start to drop even when you're still pushing it and marketing it. Then you know for sure, okay, let's switch up the cover to a newer, more trendier cover as per whatever is happening 5 years later. So they keep updating their covers to make sure that they keep selling no matter what. So that's another thing.
Yeah.
So our next question is actually about trends. And so since you work with a lot of different authors and genres, do you see any trends that's like what's popular right now?
Yes. Oh, yeah. I don't know if you've all noticed this, but illustrated images, illustrated covers are everywhere right now. And it's on rom-coms. It's on, cozy mysteries. It's automatic already because they've always had illustrated covers. And we've also have paranormal rom-coms with illustrated covers. That's a new thing that came out recently. I've also noticed a new genre. I don't know if this is new or I just only recently noticed it, but paranormal women's fiction.
Yes,
that's brand new. Yeah,
last year.
New, right? That's new, right? So when I saw that, and I was just like, ooh, this cover is so pretty. And the trending covers and the looks across all of those authors who are writing in that genre, you just immediately know that is that genre.
Right.
So I'm just so amazed. That's one thing. And then there's a lot of fake boyfriend, fake fiance, fake all of these things. And we have to put that on the cover too, somehow. So those are really, really fun trends.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. I've noticed the illustrated trend in, I feel like it's big in romance, but I'm seeing it too in, I would call it like book club mystery fiction, you know, almost like cozies, but like upscale, you know, it's like the hardcover. I don't know if you've seen it's the Thursday Murder Club, and it's got kind of it's like a lot, really font prominent, you know, lots of font, really big. And I don't know, I just think it's interesting how things come and go and how things change.
Yeah. And the illustrated covers, I was way off on that because I really felt like, because a lot of the illustrated covers are steamy books. And so I was really feeling like that was not going to last, or that readers were going to kind of rebel against that because, you know, the illustrated covers generally meant that they were not steamy, but I have been totally wrong with that because they've worked really well.
I actually have the same opinion as you because back in the day, it was mostly associated with chick lit.
Yeah.
So I got a little bit confused when it started coming up as a steamy romance.
Yeah. I don't know if it works as well in KU, you know, Kindle Unlimited as it does if you're wide, but because I think they're kind of two different audiences, but people are, you know, they're very popular and they're really cute. A lot of them are just so good. I love them. And you guys just started doing those, right?
Yeah, we have like a team of illustrators. So in case you have a different taste and a different style, we have someone for you to work on it for us. Yeah,
that's great.
So I was going to ask. Oh,
go ahead. No, you go
I was going to ask real quick about another thing that I've seen a lot of more lately in mystery is like just font. Like the whole cover is basically font, and sometimes it's very plain and like sans serif with images for psychological mystery. But then like for the ones that are more on the cozy end of the spectrum, I'm seeing lots that are font, but then they've got all these curly cues and little special things around them, or flowers or things. Are you seeing that as well?
Yes, that is very prominent. You have to really pay attention to the fonts and the styles and just the layouts of everything. Like, for example, like you said, on Cozy Mysteries, they do have a lot of swirly, magical looking font, or like Art Deco font, depending on what historical time you're writing in for Cozy Mysteries. So it's just very interesting. In the thriller, for example, if it's more in the romance section, like you're killing your wife or you have a second, those kind of tropes.
Yeah.
So you see a house, and then either it's a house and then big font, and then, or it'll be a face of a woman, and then the font is just big, tall font is just there over her face, just intricate. I need to do a actual full-on video or something to show how authors can look at all of these layouts of different trends, because you really have to pay attention, because you can't sometimes notice these things. Like, for example, in sports romance, it's slowly diminishing the usage of a field or a football field behind you. You don't see that anymore lately. Like, I've noticed that in the last few weeks, I haven't seen any football backgrounds. So it's either like it's very, very subtle, like what I do with Jami's Homecoming King, or it's not there at all. So we just need to be mindful of all of these.
Yeah, very interesting. Very interesting the way things come and go.
It is. How do you see indie publishing changing?
In what sense exactly?
Well, like for example, like the covers you're saying, the sports romance and stuff, or do you see authors asking for certain things that they weren't asking for, or
oh yes, the exclusive images.
Oh,
yeah. So nowadays authors are more attracted to Wander Aguar's type of covers and images that he uses, or exclusive imagery in general. They don't just refuse to go on Shutterstock or deposit photos, and they just want exclusive images. So that is where we're slowly just changing into. But I feel bad for those authors who are new and are on a budget, and it's a bit for that. And then readers just tend to start gravitating to covers with really exclusive images on them. So we work hard to make sure that even using stock images, we just kind of edit it in certain ways where it looks similar to everything else out there. It doesn't
because they're expensive. I mean, I use them for Homecoming King, but I'm not using them for this next cover because, as we were talking about this earlier, because of COVID, they can't do they can't do shoots with couples, and I use couples, and so I haven't seen anything really that I love. And so I'm going to go with this. I'm trying to go with stock images this time, but I mean, that is a big trend, but it is expensive, and you have to, you have to really be committed.
And I also have to really dig deep. Sometimes I do the photographer search, and you can't, it's hard to find. You have to start a brand new Google search, technically, because there's not a lot of photographers. They don't want to use certain types of photographers that's available for book cover covers. So they're like, I want someone new. I'm like, okay, calm down. Let me find something. So that's another thing.
And so on that note, though, what are things that authors should look for, like making sure that photo is available and you can legally use it and stuff like that? How do they protect themselves, and how can a cover artist help them with that?
Okay, for sure, they need to make sure once you contact the photographer. Sometimes they don't even get back to you. It's another thing. And when they do, before paying for anything or anything like that, you gotta ask for sure if we can edit the photos in certain ways. Because I've come through certain problems where I cropped the model too much, like I just cropped the face, and the models didn't like that. So we had a little trouble with that. So, or sometimes we want to put a shirt on them, but the photographer is like not okay with you editing it in that way. So you just need to be mindful of that. And then in the legal sense, also make sure that the photographer also gave a heads up to the couple involved or the model involved, because most of the ones that I use that are totally new photographers who don't know much about book covers and such are wedding photos or engagement photos that they use. And sometimes the couple had no idea, and all of a sudden they're there on Amazon and you get in trouble.
Yeah.
So
they didn't sign a release.
Yeah, exactly. Get that release proof as that the photographer has the right to sell these photos with the permission of the photographers, and also sign a contract. Just make sure you sign a contract as well. That's for sure.
Yeah.
That's why it's great to do Shutterstock and deposit photo, because those things are protected. I mean, those iStock. I mean, those images they've already been vetted. They're protected and But if you're using, if you're using and because I've there've been instances I've heard of that the model took photos years ago and then now is pretty popular. But he didn't really give permission with those earlier photos, or there was a problem with the earlier photos or something. And you just want to make sure that you don't get into any of that.
Exactly. Yeah. And I've seen a common mistake where, especially if the author or the designer is on a budget, is that they use public domain images, which is great, but with the ones with people on it, half the time those models did not say yes, or they did not say yes to be posted out there like that. So you just need to make sure that you don't use any public domain, or you contact the photographer to make sure, like, hey, please let me know if this model is okay with me putting it on a book cover. So you need to be mindful of those websites as well.
Yeah.
Great. That's good. Very good information.
Yeah. And one other thing we wanted to ask you about was like finding a good cover artist, and like what advice would you give for someone who's looking for a new cover artist, and then like how to research and make sure that the images that you're getting are, legitimate and that you're protected and everything.
In that sense, is you definitely need to find a cover designer you like in terms of their portfolio, and have depending if you're the type of author to write in so many different genres. If you do, it's always best to find a cover designer who will just work with one cover designer, so it's less stressful. So just make sure that a cover designer can do multiple other styles, etc., for different genres. And also, depending on the designer, they might have a terms and condition, or they might mention in their packages stock images from Shutterstock and deposit photos. So that's for sure. And also, when you brainstorm with the cover designer, they will be sending you like links of options, so that from there itself, if it's an unknown site, definitely check the terms and conditions before anything else.
Yes,
I've made that mistake once, actually recently. Oh, I'm still kicking myself about it because I've used it for corporate work, and then I realized I never personally bought it. It was always the client, and they always buy the large package. So I was just like, oh, Najla, you're so stupid. You should have checked. So yeah, but anyways, that's sorted. Don't worry, that's sorted. But yeah, that's another thing to keep in mind, and also make sure to expect to know how many rounds of changes that you might likely ask for, and that it is included in the packages, because you don't want any surprises. Like, for example, the cover designer goes like, hey, this is going to be, you went over the rounds of changes, is going to be an extra, et cetera. And then you get mad because you didn't realize that they're going to charge extra. So just make sure you do your research in that sense, and see all of the hidden charges or whatever it is included in that. They usually have it straightforward.
I was going to say, I like that in your packages. It says so many edits. And that's why with my first one, I went over the edits for the package that I had, but it was okay. I mean, you were
learning.
I was learning. It was a learning curve. But yeah. And I think even with Homecoming King, I might have.
I don't remember.
I don't remember because we did colors right.
I think we did the max package because it was, just in case we want to do like other stuff with it.
I've learned. But I will tell you one thing you need as an author, I think, is a friend with a really good eye for for design, because Maria Lewis, she really, I mean, she's the one that came up with the black and gold color for Homecoming King. And like, I was going with pinks and teals and all of those things. Yeah. And when the minute she said that, it just changed the whole thing. It was beautiful. And so it's nice to have somebody, you can trust, that you can ask their opinion of. So
I agree with this. I actually asked my clients to go like, okay, just take a minute, calm down. Yeah. Don't get too overexcited. Just go to your inner circle and just ask what they think. Because you never know.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point, because there's a lot of Facebook groups and places you can go where you can post things and you can get feedback from hundreds of people. Yeah. But if they're not familiar with your genre and they don't know what readers want for your type of book, it's not very helpful.
No.
Yes, so exactly. You need some people that you really trust and that know exactly what your readers are looking for. And that
exactly.
Exactly. And have also read your book and know you as a person,
etc.
know you as a person, etc. Because I know a lot of authors, they don't listen to me sometimes.
Yeah.
So, and that's fine. That's totally okay. So that's why I always say it's okay if you don't want to listen to me. Go to your inner circle. Ask your husband. Ask your daughter. Whoever it may be. Just get opinions out there, and then come back, because it helps really with decisions regarding the cover, etc.
Right.
Yeah.
And I wanted to talk to you real quick about the fact that you've kind of expanded. You've created, a company,
and
and then I think your sister was working with you, and like you have people now working with you, which I think is great, because I've heard horror stories about cover designers ghosting clients because they've had it's legitimate. They've had personal issues or whatever, but they work by themselves, and so there's nobody to kind of pick up.
They have no backup.
They don't have a backup. Yeah. And this is one thing I can say about Najla. I have never had to sit around and wait for her. And the fact she's in Bahrain, I don't think we said that. And so, so I'll wake up in the morning with new cover, with new options. It's always great. I love it. But so talk to us about like bringing people on and how that's kind of helped you and
grow, etc.
Yeah,
I'll be very, very honest. It came out of necessity, because I have severe social anxiety and like a lot of like I don't do well with change. Like I tried to get a full-time job after college, and I was still working on covers for Inkspell, but I didn't know if that was going to be solid. So I was just making I think maybe $50 a month. That's pretty much it. And so before that, I used to get paid with books, because I'm silly like that. Like I can't get books in Bahrain that I want to read. So sometimes, anyways, back to the thing is that I try to get a full-time job, but I had a severe panic attack. And when each time I kept going and trying, it just deteriorated my health. I was just like, I can't do this. So I have to, in the end, even with help and medication, well, I didn't try medication, but with help and such, it just didn't work. So I thought, okay, let's just do something from home. I like what I'm doing with Inkspell, so I'm just going to keep doing that and trying to market, put myself out, etc. So I did that, and it was slow. It was a very slow process. Bit by bit, Jami came in, Maria came in, and it's just it's a slow journey. It was 5 years, and then I started needing help. So I asked, my sister had the same problem as me. Technically, she couldn't. It's a hereditary thing. My grandparents had a very severe case of it as well. So it's so my sister had the same issue. So, and my mom was like, please just give her something to do so that she gets out of the house. She's just in her room doing nothing. And I'm like, okay, Mom, calm down. It's fine. It's fine. So I brought my sister in, and we kind of we were in my office and at my apartment 4 years ago. And we did that for a year, until my dad's like, okay, time to register the company so that we can get you on a pension plan, etc.
Yeah.
So I'm like, Dad, you're so smart. Why didn't I think of this?
Right. 5 years ago. Yeah.
Because
So,
you were busy running the business though, right?
yeah, exactly. So I was busy I was just wake up, get on my laptop, go to sleep at 9 after I do all these emails, etc. and all of that. So my sister was there, and we're like, Neda, what do you think if we do interiors too? Because that'd be so cool.
Mm-hmm.
And she was like, yes, let's do it. So then she started doing the research and trying to figure it out, because she wanted to be in magazine industry.
Mm-hmm.
So she wanted to be the designer in the magazine industry. So it worked out.
Yeah.
And once we got registered, that opened opportunities in a sense where we could hire people and help out other people who need work.
Mm-hmm.
So we just kept growing. And I was just up here with all the work and requests. And I'm like, I have a really hard time saying no, especially to loyal clients like Jami, for example. It's just so hard to say no. I'm like, no, I have to. Jami, I love her. I can't say no. So I'm just like, okay, I give up. I was like, okay, we need someone else to handle design. And before that, we needed someone to help with financing, like HR stuff and admin. So we hired our best friend, who was in a tight spot, and she was about to like leave the country because she didn't have a visa or whatever. Mm-hmm. So we're like, come, we'll give you a visa. Please stay with us. Please stay with us. And bit by bit, it was the same case with our first designer. He also needed a job before he got kicked out of the country because of visa issues. So I'm like, come. He has some background in design, but I saw a lot of potential in him. So I was like, I'm gonna just nurture it and just mentor him. And next thing you know it, he's our swag elf. He does all of our Jami, your swag. He did that. Yeah. So he's like, he knew exactly what I wanted and everything. And he's so quiet. And he would just here, done with Jami, here, done with Maria, here, done. So it's just so helpful. Mm-hmm. And from there, it's just they just really just helped me manage my projects. That's honestly, and it just kept going from there.
That's great.
That is awesome to hear how it grew.
I know, I love it, and you're sort of saving people as
I didn't realize
from deportation.
Exactly. Yeah. I didn't realize it, but then we just became a huge family, and we just really enjoy what we're doing, just having fun in the process.
Yeah,
that's really really helpful with the results for each client. Especially, you could see how much love we put into it.
Yes, you can, and that is kind of one of the things that I can always tell. I mean, there are other great cover designers, but I can always tell from your covers, they're just happy. Like, even if they're dark romance, there's just something in them that's a spark or something like that I always can tell it's one of your covers, because they're just,
Now I'm worried for the bully romances that I've been doing.
I can still tell, even though they're dark and all those things, that you can always tell they're in one of your covers. So, yeah.
Well, what is the best thing you've done to set yourself up for success?
The best thing I've done, it's just taking the leap.
Yeah.
And actually, because I have a hard time delegating and outsourcing, because I just worry that they might not get what my client wants. So the moment I just let all of that go and go like, okay, I'll just try. Andrew, that's our covered, another designer in our companies. Andrew, Jami, for example, Jami needs this and this and this. Can you do it based off this cover? La 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 la. The moment that they did that, and the moment the release of that, and delegating all the work, that is one thing. Another thing for me is just to chill out. I get stressed out over the smallest things. I get worried about the stupidest things, and my husband's always like, shut up, it's not even a big deal.
Yeah.
It's a big deal to me.
I know.
So it's that's another thing, because I feel everybody says that I am the only person who's holding me back. Like, I didn't get to this point because in my business, if it weren't for my dad pushing me. If he wasn't there to register the company for me, I would still be in my living room with my sister. 10 years later, we're just still there going like, we have
on your laptop.
We're exhausted.
We can't do this anymore.
Yeah. So thinking bigger, you know, you had to really kind of expand the way you think about things.
I did have to think bigger. And my best friend who works with us as well, and my sister always have to go like, shut up, you're selling yourself short. Go do this. Like when I sent them the email for this podcast, and I'm like, I'm scared. What if I say the wrong things? And they're like, shush, you're in Toastmasters. You know public speaking. You can do this. Do it. Do it.
Yes.
So
I'm so glad you did. I think that people will have really learned some things from it. So that's supposed to be our last question, but I do want one more question. So if somebody's wanting to get into cover designing, what's something a piece of advice you can give them?
Definitely put yourself out there. Go find where the authors are lurking. Go there. Yeah. Go there. Go like, hey, I'm doing this. I'm going to do it for really, really cheap because I want to build my portfolio. Make sure you do cheap so you can build your portfolio. Yeah. And then once your portfolio grows with book covers, that is one way for authors to trust you and hire you more. So that's a definite thing. And also do your research and have a form of questions for your authors because you definitely need that, and it's going to be easier on you as well as a designer. Yeah. So those are the three things.
I think your Google form is great, and I think it's helpful for authors because it makes us think about specific things that we wouldn't have thought about had you not asked that question. So yeah.
I always put off writing my blurb until I have to because I'm going to send it to my cover artist because they want to know the blurb, you know. So I put that off. So doing that forces me to do my blurb because I know they're going to.
Oh no! I always tell Najla, I'll get it to you later.
Yeah, we actually don't need the blurb. Just give me a brief about what the book is about, and we're solid.
Yeah,
so, but
that's good though. Yeah. Well, thanks for being here, and it's been so good. Yeah. I think it's going to be really helpful, and
I hope
I would have never have known that you were nervous or worried.
Me either. You were great. Yeah.
Where can people find out more about you and your covers?
You can simply just Google me. All the links are there. Then NajlaQamber, or you could just type in NajlaQamberDesigns.com, and everything should be there for you.
Okay. And we'll put the links in the show notes and stuff, and people will get them. All right. Well, thanks so much.
Thank you, ladies, for having me. I'm super excited about this. I hope it's helpful.
It's going to be great. I just know people are going to get a ton out of it.
Yep. All right. Well, thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to the Wish I'd Known Then podcast. We hope this episode inspired you, empowered you, and made you laugh a little bit too. If you loved it, tell your friends about it. And if you feel so inclined, leave us a review. We look forward to being with you again next week.